Man, do we got a number of Bull news today? It's a straight news dump for the Chicago Bulls today because tell me why Collin Sexton just got smacked with a $35,000 fine for a viral moment. Guerschon Yabusele explains why he cut his pay for the Chicago Bulls, and it isn't just about basketball. Rob Dillingham basically told us this season is mess-up friendly. What does that mean for the tank? And then we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Do the Chicago Bulls actually have a direction, or are we just watching chaos with vibes? We're going to talk about all that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. This first segment, we just got a random news bits from the Chicago Bulls, things that aren't like worth their own full segment, so I'll put them together in one. First off, Tuesday, the NBA announced that they have fined Colin Sexton $35,000 for him giving the rim the bird. Now, this was the fine was due to an inappropriate gesture on the playing court. Now, here's what I'll say to that one. I've seen a number of players that have flicked people off and not gotten fines. Now, I get it. His moment was a little bit more viral because he was doing free throws. It was just him. It wasn't anything slide. It was something intentional that wasn't just like caught by the camera. That would have been caught by anything because he did it in the middle of a free throw. But I think this also is kind of why you're seeing a lot of Bulls fans kind of endeared to Colin Sexton, right? A lot of people I've seen kind of compare him to Pat Bev in regards to his attitude, mood, and kind of the leadership that he's bringing to the Chicago Bulls already. And I'll tell you what, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't like. When you see, like, the fact that he was mic'd up in the last game, right? And you got to see him talk to Yabuselle, and you got to see, well, it was the game before last. You got to see all those moments and things. Like, there is some Pat Bev vibes with, did I say Patrick Williams earlier? Am I tripping? Pat Bev vibes, if I did say Patrick Williams, Pat Bev vibes with Colin Sexton, just in the sense that, you know, he's come right in here for a team that has lacked some vocality and things like that. He's brought all those things right away. It hasn't been a curve or anything there. But the fact that he gave the middle finger to the rim, before heading back out on defense, like I just think that was a great moment. I don't know what the future holds for Colin Sexton here. We could talk about like what it means. I do think between him, Jaden Ivey, and Anthony Simons that you're probably only keeping two of those guys. Only two of those guys are staying. This is Arturas, though. I wouldn't be surprised if all three end up staying, but only two of those guys are probably going to end up staying. And Simons may be the one that leaves because he wants to join a winning team. Not to say that Colin Sexton doesn't necessarily want to join a winning team, but I don't think he has kind of the same positive view around the league as like an Anthony Simons does, because Simons is just great in his role as scoring, and teams need players that understand how to be a scorer. But Anthony Simons does some other things. We'll cover that at a later date and time, right? But overall, we'll see what the Bulls do. If anything's said about this, but I just felt that was a little bit of a weird moment. Weird, not for the moment on the court, but a weird fine there. But, maybe that's just because I don't believe in PC culture. I don't really give a damn about that. I have children. My children weren't offended by it at all. They actually laughed by it. Like, I think also sometimes we have to update the things and realize that kids nowadays are exposed to a lot more just in life, right? Like I could see maybe in the early 90s, like, oh, my God, you gave a middle finger on a national broadcast where children were watching? Okay, it's 2026. I think probably most of our kids, and I know people don't want to admit this, are giving people the birds themselves, when we're not around. But nonetheless, it is what it is there. The next bit of random news was Guerschon Yabusele was interviewed by SNY, and he talked about his departure from the Knicks and talked about the contract decision that he made to basically waive the last year of the player option for making an unrestricted free agent. He said this: "We can always see the side of the money and talk about it. But at the end of the day, the passion is more than just money. It's being out there. It's missing the feeling of being out there. Offense, defense, just competing at a high level. I'm a competitor first. The situation with New York was a little bit different for me because I wasn't really playing. So being able to be on another team and try to bring value to the court was really important. I was just missing being out there on the court, making mistakes, learning from it, trying to get better. this is a great quote from Guerschon Yabusele, right? Because, of course, a lot of the talk around Yabusele was he's going to probably go back overseas because he wasn't playing. And now that he is playing with the Chicago Bulls, I do wonder now if maybe that leads him to maybe be open to re-signing a new deal with the Chicago Bulls and maybe staying in the NBA. Out of the 3 games he's played, 2 of them have been really good. The last game wasn't as good, but he got in foul trouble. But I do like Yabu. I like what he brings to the court. I like the versatility that he brings. I love the fact that, at 6'7", but 265 pounds, the dude can guard centers and put a body on them, right? So, and we've lacked some of that. Like, say what you will about Nick Richards and Guerschon Yabusele and what they lack in height, right? As far as people who want like true 7-footers and things like that, but the toughness that they've brought to the center position. And I'll say this, the little bit of athleticism. I wouldn't call Guerschon at this point, like younger in his career when he was first drafted before he went back overseas, he was absolutely an athletic monster. And while I'm not saying he doesn't have any athleticism, I wouldn't call him like a high-level athlete anymore. And Nick Richards isn't like some jump out the gym athlete either. But both of these guys have brought more athleticism to the center position, and it's been fun to watch, fun to see that dynamic added back into a Chicago Bulls team for sure. So, if Guerschon is more now open to maybe remaining with the Chicago Bulls beyond the 2025-26 season, I wouldn't necessarily be mad at that. And I don't think you can run it back and say, bam, Zach Collins, Nick Richards, Guerschon, we got our center position locked in. Don't fucking do that. Go out there and find you a center of the future or starting caliber center of the right now. But I think overall, I do like having these guys. I don't know if we keep both of them. Guerschon can play more than just center. Guerschon can play the 3, the 4, or the 5. The 3, with him losing some of his athleticism and being a little bit more bulkier now, maybe a little bit difficult for him to guard some of the quicker threes in the league. But I do think that standpoint, that possibility is there for him to do some as well as far as be switchable and stay with them for some links. So, listen, I'm going to be interested to watch the rest of Guerschon's season here for the Chicago Bulls, and we'll just see where it shakes out after that. One of the last little bit of news items, there's a quote going around from Rob Dillingham, and I want to talk about what that could possibly mean for this Bulls team going forward. He says this: obviously we want to win, but we can mess up here. It's not like if we lose, you die. Here playing with my teammates, everyone is new. Really, they all just gave positive comments, positive thoughts, giving me some confidence, even coach giving me confidence. So playing with everyone is great for sure. Now, that part that he says here, we can mess up here. That goes to a lot of the people who are supportive of Rob Dillingham, who says, listen, the kid wasn't given a big chance and opportunity. And, the minutes do show that. And now that he has a chance to build confidence here, I think then you can start seeing who he is as a player. Right now, once everybody's back healthy, Josh Giddey, Trey Jones comes back, I do think that kind of pushes Rob Dillingham out and may even send him to the G League. We don't know what's going to happen there. But I'll say this, to get a kid that was drafted in the top 8, and that still has a lot of that. He's only 2 years into his NBA career. It'd be different if we were talking about somebody who were 4, 5 years into their NBA career, and they're still like, well, I was drafted 8th overall. It's like, yeah, he still has time here, and he hasn't been given a lot. He hasn't played a lot of NBA minutes. But he's going to have to fight for it. He's going to have to show what he can bring. He's going to have to bring some type of consistency to do that. Now, the rest of this season is the rest of the season. But I am interested to see what Rob Dillingham does in the offseason for a team that he could have an opportunity here. He could have a chance to really be here. Now, I do want to be admitted and talk about the flip side as well. He could very well end up on the back end of the bench here, not getting a lot of minutes. It very well could end up happening. He could very well fall into like a Javon Carter type thing where it's like, hey, are you ready when there are injuries? So I want to be clear there. I don't know if Rob Dillingham is just going to have this green light and go once everybody's back healthy, but I do want to see him make the most of the opportunity that he's given. And on the last episode, I even admitted there's more than I thought there with Rob Dillingham, and I will admit that. I still think a lot of it is rough. I still think a lot of it is more potential than realized kind of NBA skills. But that's on the Chicago Bulls to kind of develop that with him and help build his confidence. I think a large part of it is confidence with Rob. He's going to have to be more of a passer than a scorer at the NBA level. And, there's somebody who keeps leaving comments on the channel saying, well, Rob Dillingham is a true point. Rob Dillingham is not a true point. He's a scorer. He's averaged just as many, if not more, turnovers and assists over his entire career, even in college when he was a dog. So he's not a true point. But if he can develop some more true point attributes with his passing, it makes his shooting ability, which he showed in college. We got to see if he can get that range here in the NBA. But hey, if he does, then great. That's another weapon for the Chicago Bulls. That's another young piece that this Bulls team could try to develop, and we'll see if they can get it out of him. Listen, we'll see, right? Chris Finch, when it came down to it, like, he had Rob Dillingham scared. And I don't think Chris Finch is a bad coach. I just think that the place that they were as a team, they didn't have time to develop a 20-year-old point guard. They probably shouldn't have took it. They probably should have traded that pick for a veteran at that point in time. But, they're in the compete mode. The Bulls are more so not in that right now. So let's see what Rob Dillingham can bring to the Bulls. But moving off the news and notes, let's kind of get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. The Chicago Bulls have worked themselves into a place where they have no direction right now. And I think that's by design. I don't say that to be down on the team. I want to be clear here. I think that is by design of where this team is right now. They do not have a clear direction on where this franchise is going. I think a lot of that is going to be based off a few things this offseason. A, where's their draft selection end up at? That lottery pick that it seems like they're destined to get, where does that end up putting them at? And depending on, is it top 5? Is it in the top 10? Is it between 10 and 15? Where that ends up shaking out, 10 and 14, because lottery picks can only go as low as 14. Haize, get it together. So where that ends up being, I think is going to be a large part in where they are. If they get a player that they feel like, boom, this is a guy that we can go, we're on the move with, he can bring it to this team. I do think that you see, the Bulls, and I said this on yesterday's episode, I think you see the Bulls go right back into focusing on being competitive, right? But as things stand right now for the rest of this season, this roster is in complete and utter flux. It makes no sense, right, where we are at all. We won 39 games each of the last 2 seasons, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls don't crack 30 wins this season, and just be 100% honest with you. We can win 29 games this season. I think if we win 5 more games the rest of the way, that's more than a lot of people are giving us credit for. So we'll see what it is, but this is a team that right now doesn't have that clear direction with the roster. We do have some pieces that we are evaluating. Rob Dillingham is definitely somebody that we are evaluating, who we're just talking about. Collin Sexton, Anthony Simons, right? Seeing what if either one of those guys are going to want to be here long term. Jaden Ivey, hoping that, and I think Jaden Ivey is one of the ones that you can feel safe on. The Bulls are going to put an offer sheet out on, because I don't think there are a lot of teams with the way that his season has gone this year and the injury that he had and all that type of stuff that are going to be willing to put big offer sheets on Jaden Ivey. It'd be different if Jaden Ivey for this season bounced back and had the season that he was having last year. I think that a lot of teams will be more in on Jaden Ivey, but I do think that's a player that the Bulls are going to be like, hey, let's try to keep. We traded him to keep him. He's a restricted free agent. We're going to try to retain him. I do think they're going to try to retain him cheap. I wouldn't be surprised if the offer for Jaden Ivey is more $16-ish million than $20-ish million. That's my personal opinion. But hey, we'll see. But then the Bulls also didn't stack a bunch of any first-round picks, which I have speculated on yesterday's episode, is meaning that the Bulls are going to use those second-round picks to will and deal, to add the things, sweeteners in this offseason. I really do think that's going to be there, right? But this Bulls team is looking to hopefully to land a young cornerstone in this draft, and possibly being armed with 2 first-round picks, 3 picks in the top 32, with the New Orleans Pelicans second-round pick as well. The Bulls may be looking. The Portland Trail Blazers are 9th right now in the Western Conference. And we'll see. They've won 3 straight games now after losing 6 straight, which is really good for them. If they can pass up the Golden State Warriors, who are 4-6 in their last 10, but they won their last one, we're talking about a team that may only need to win 1 game to get out the play-in. And that's where you want the Portland Trail Blazers to be. If the Portland Trail Blazers can get up to number 8, they only need 1 win to get in the playoffs. That's what you want. You want that team to only need 1 win to get into the playoffs. Because if that happens, listen, anybody can win on any given night. They'll have 2 opportunities to get 1 win. If the Portland Trail Blazers can get into that 8 seed, that's what we should all be rooting for. 2 games to get 1 win. That 1 win gets the Bulls an additional first-round pick. So that's something that we're going to do. I'm not going to talk about it every episode, but don't be surprised if every week, maybe on the mailbag day, maybe on Fridays, I update where the Portland Trail Blazers are, their chances, all that type of stuff. The Portland Trail Blazers also do not, if I'm not mistaken, don't have one of the strongest schedules remaining in the NBA. I'm going to check that real quick now. If I'm correct, the Portland Trail Blazers actually have the easiest schedule remaining in the NBA. So with that said, and the Bulls having the 3rd toughest schedule remaining as of right now in the NBA, the Portland Trail Blazers pick has a really good chance of conveying. And if you get 2 first-round picks in this draft, you better believe the Bulls are looking to land a young cornerstone in that draft. And that's going to be something that helps add the clarity to where this roster is going. So on top of the roster being in flux, because we don't have really good balance, we don't have a true center on this roster right now. By the way, I guess Nick Richards is a true center. He's just a true backup center, a true starting caliber center. There you go on that one. And so I think that's gonna make some things clear. The Bulls made reactive moves at this trade deadline. They didn't make moves that were there to kind of nail in, oh, this is our path now. They made reactive moves. They moved off of Kobe because clearly they didn't want to resign him at the number that he was offered. They moved Nikola Vucevic because he wasn't part of the long-term future. They were able to get Anthony Simons back that could actually add and stay here and pair with Josh Giddey long-term in the backcourt. But at the end of the day, where we are and is not very much different than where we were. It's just the pieces are different. Kobe White, I would assume we were free agents at the end of the year. Collin Sexton, Jaden Ivey, Anthony Simons, free agents at the end of the year. Now, one is a restricted free agent, so that gives you a little bit more flexibility, but there's there. All of our centers are now unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. Vooch was an unrestricted, and Zach Collins, unrestricted free agents at the end of the year. So it was kind of more reactive to get something back, right, and to just kind of clear the deck. I speculated in an episode, that early this week, late last week, that, hey, maybe AK was removing his personal attachment to these players so he can do an actual evaluation, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But the clarity that people are looking for and searching for, rightfully so, for this Bulls team is not going to come until we see the offseason moves. This trade deadline didn't add clarity, it added possibility. And I think that that's what you're looking at really with this team. Clarity wasn't added, possibility was. And so now with and like I said, it wasn't necessarily added possibility, it's just it opened the possibility up. I think, the extra second round picks opened up more possibility for sure. And I'll say this too, if the Bulls do decide, hey, we are no longer in a place to develop the 21-year-old, now it'll be 22-year-old point guard in Rob Dillingham, don't be surprised if he can be moved for another team that's young and maybe has some time to develop him and maybe more of a focus if the Bulls really do make the competitive moves that I think AK is going to be trying to make this offseason. So right now, the Bulls have kind of lucked into a situation. And I'll say this. They've stumbled into a situation to where they are in a place where most tanking teams want to be, right? Now, they are going to be out there. They're going to try to play. They're going to try to evaluate players. I don't think this Bulls team is going to have to do a lot to try to lose, right? I don't think that, right? But they've created a pretty good environment to make some change here. You have total cap flexibility, which you were going to have anyway, but you do have total cap flexibility. You could have 2 first-round picks in a generationally deep draft with a second-round pick that is basically a low-level first-round pick. So you have that. You have a ton of second nows. 13, excuse me, that was rude. I try to hold that off. But you have now 13 second-round picks that you can use to will and deal, meaning that not the second-round picks themselves, but hey, if you want to move up from number 9 to number 7, hey, some teams will take things less than 4 first-round picks plus the pick that you do have to move up. So you now have stumbled into a situation where you do have a little bit more kind of that you can put in there. Now, our team's going to be interested in that. We've seen second-round picks be kind of used as, I'm going to use it. Can be used as the lube to grease up a deal, right? And that is something that we can legitimately see this team try to do. And we'll see if they end up doing it. But this is the flexibility that they have here is legitimate. Again, like I've said before, though, the question becomes about, do you trust AK to do shit with it? And that's where a lot of Bulls fans and their trust is going to falter at, because AK hasn't really shown that consistently to believe in anything that AK is doing or talking about. And that's what leads to a little bit more concern when it comes down to the Bulls have lost 5 in a row. 5 in a row, right? And when you look at the Bulls' upcoming schedule, it doesn't get any easier. It doesn't get any easier. The Bulls have the 3rd toughest schedule in the NBA, and they're the only team that's not one of the top 10 teams or top 8 teams to have a difficult schedule like that. So, this is a situation where everything that the Bulls want is potentially at their disposal. A high draft pick, 2 draft picks in the first round, a really good second-round pick in this draft, multiple second-round picks you can use to try to move up, roster flexibility, cap flexibility. Like, the Bulls right now sit in a place they can take the best player available on the board. If it's a shooting guard, they can take it. Small forward, they can take it. Power forward, they can take it. Center, they can take it, right? They can take all of those positions, all of them. And because of that, it also opens up, like, now we better see the best scouting effort by AK and the scouting team ever. Like, you better damn well see that, because that is where things get important at for this team. You have to be able to draft well. All this flexibility, having your own first-round picks, it don't matter if you draft more P. Wills. It does not matter if you draft more P. Wills. It does not matter. So, or Dalen Terry's. No offense to Dalen, right? I love Dalen Terry as a person. But I think when you look at Walker Kessler was sitting right there. So you can't do that too much anymore. You have to hit on these draft picks. You have to hit on your free agent signings. You have to hit on what you decide to do. You have to hit on those. And we'll see what the Bulls can do. You already gave up Ayo Dosunmu to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who very well could help that team finally get over the hump in that Western Conference Finals and make it to the NBA Finals. You could very well see that happen this year, just like you saw it happen with Alex Caruso and the OKC Thunder. And it'd really interesting to see Caruso and Ayo in Western Conference Finals battling out against each other for their new team. Man, listen here. That's where AK frustrates me at. But the Bulls do have a game today as well when we take on the Boston Celtics. This is our last game in 7 days. They have a week off with the All-Star break coming up. And, of course, people are looking at Nikola Vucevic to get his revenge today. Will he? We'll see if he does. I do think Guerschon Yabusele and Nick Richards are going to be two tough players for him to score when we've seen him have trouble with those type of players before. But at the end of the day, it's not about wins or losses for the Bulls. It's about development, looking at these pieces, evaluating these pieces. I wouldn't be surprised with the Bulls losing 5 straight if they ended with a win here, and then people are going to be right back, oh, my God, you see that? The Bulls can win. So we'll see what happens there. But that's it, man. But here's where I am with it. Sexton's fine. I like Collin Sexton. I love Yabusele's mindset. Rob Dillingham is an interesting piece as well. The bigger question is, how do all these players factor in to an actual plan for Chicago? Is there one for those guys? Now I need to hear from you guys on this. Are the Bulls stumbling into a perfect tank, or is this just another reset with no real vision? Let me know what you guys think on that. Drop your comments down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.